But Miyazaki and Takahata didn't have any clue on how Pippi Longstocking would be rejected by the author, because they had a good feeling when they were in negotiation. But that was also when the TV version of Lupin III finally started. Miyazaki was interested in Lupin III to some extent, but didn't think it was his job to direct it. So the first season of Lupin III began directed by Osumi. Osumi's concept for Lupin was to set characters who reflected the post-60s young generation in Japan, who no longer had any passion or interest in politics or social activities. To be more specific, Lupin is a descendant of a French aristocracy. His grandfather, Lupin I, was the master thief, Arsène Lupin. So he's super rich. Lupin III received a great inheritance from him, so he actually doesn't need to steal. He rather wants to have fun because he's bored. That's why failing to steal doesn't mean anything to him. He just laughs it all away and indulges in women, gambling, and wine. He just lives hedonistically every day. That was Osumi's plan. And their sponsor finally accepted that plan. Because their sponsor was that well known, cough drop brand in Japan called Asada Ame. As you all know, Asada Ame being a snack or drug company, well, it's a drug company. So, being a drug company, they couldn't allow their sponsored anime to have a main character who stole in every episode. Asada Ame's request was not to let Lupin kill people, even though he's a thief. And their next request was to not let him steal things. That's why Lupin is a thief but fails every time. Or even when he succeeds, he ends up stealing invaluable things. This was the original setting for the TV series, which was kept until today. That's why, although Lupin is a thief throughout the series, he rarely succeeds in thieving. There's a scene in the opening where he is on a helicopter with a piece of jewelry he has stolen. Although there are moments, he usually fails in the episodes. But that was intentional. But that didn't matter, because in Osumi's concept, he's a descendant of aristocracy and has great wealth. Now, I wish I had a better image to show you how Lupin was drawn during that time. The whole animation team of Star of the Giants, an epic baseball manga, produced Lupin III. So, here, Otsuka had to struggle so much to have things done properly. Maybe I'll have the image right here. Otsuka had such a difficult time because the animators had been drawing baseball players until recently. They drew everyone with good postures. So Otsuka had to instruct them how he needed to stand. Lupin was supposed to stand leaning on one foot, like diagonally. Without his instructions, Lupin always ended up standing like an athlete. Otsuka was like, no, make him look softer like a jellyfish. When he sits, he doesn't sit straight, make him slack every single time. He explained that over and over to the animators. So it was a lot of work, but finally Lupin III started on TV. But like I said, fun animes used to receive a 40% viewing rate. Even boring animes at least earn 20%. Now guess the number of Lupin's first episode. 9%, which dropped and dropped every episode until it was 6%. The advertising agency complained first, although they said earlier, let's make anime new for adults. Next, Asada Ame saw it as well, and they complained too. So they called Osumi to hold a response meeting. But director Osumi argued back, what's happening is exactly what we have expected. This anime is for adults, and adults don't watch anime. And 9%? A good number. But neither the sponsor or the broadcaster nodded their heads. Osumi got upset, and he stopped coming to meetings after. So Lupin pretty much lost their director around the 6th or 7th episode. Then, the people who caught Fujioka's attention were Miyazaki and Takahata. In addition to the commercial depression of Lupin, because the anime adaptation Pippi Longstocking was rejected, Tokyo Movie was almost going bankrupt. They spent 3 years producing Lupin III, but it received only a 6% viewing rate. Not only that, a feature anime film, PP Longstockings, was rejected by the author. They didn't know what to do now, but they had to do something, so they forced Takahata and Miyazaki to support the first season of Lupin III. But in my opinion, I think they are historically the worst two to help improve the viewing rate. But they're both serious and hardworking, so they did what they could. Miyazaki tried to completely remodel Lupin III. To do that, he got rid of the setting that Lupin was a French aristocrat. He replaced the setting that he was a bored rich man who stole for a hobby. Now, he was a poor Italian man who always goggled his eyes, looking for fun. It was a drastic change from French aristocrat to poor Italian man. Now, the car Lupin drove during that time, in the first season, it's a car called Mercedes-Benz SSK. Mercedes-Benz SSK is super expensive today. And it was super expensive back then. Because I think they've only made 30 of them in the world, on top of them being limited in number. SSK has a 12-cylinder piston engine that Ferrari installs. Including that engine, one SSK costs about 14 million US dollars. And that's his car? No way! You see, Lupin has indulged in luxury throughout his life, so he's bored of it. He's fed up with luxury and just wants a car that moves. Miyazaki said, "Oh, that looks good," and pointed at Otsuka's cherished car, Fiat 500, outside the window and said, "How about that car? That looks cheap and beaten up." Otsuka said, "That's my car." Anyway, so Fiat became Lupin's car. So, in the 16th episode of the first season of Lupin, called Operation Jewelry Snatch, there's a scene where Lupin steals Fujiko's car and drives away. After that, it becomes his car. So, you may think Fiat became his car from Cagliostro, but it was his car ever since Miyazaki joined the TV series in 1971 and brought in his own setting. In Miyazaki's mind, making the main character of anime drink expensive champagne and drive an expensive car that is super limited in number was so out of fashion. So, rather, he wanted Lupin to drive an ordinary car and be hungry for thrills, so the style shifted. I think the first season is strangely appealing because it's a good mixture of Lupin as an aristocrat as well as a poor and hungry man.